Hey guys. Um, this is our reading strategies video for this week. Each week we will present you with a different reading strategy. The reason behind this is I know that a lot of you all don't necessarily enjoy reading. And when we're in the classroom, when I typically set up independent reading, what I'll do is we'll have one day where the first day I'll ask students to read for 20 minutes. And then I'll ask them to respond. I'll say, okay, respond to your reading. Every single student writes a summary of what they read. And that's great. Summarizing is a really important skill to have. However, if all you do after reading is summarize what you read, you are not retaining as much of the good information that you're reading. There are so many other strategies and skills and things that should be happening when you're reading. So we're going to talk about those different things each week. This week, we want to focus on making connections. Making connections is one of the most important things you can do, especially when you start reading a book. So it's really important as we are starting our books that you start to make connections. Making connections with the author, or making connections with the text, or making connections with the characters inside the novel will help you to better appreciate what you are reading. So it says making connections is a critical reading comprehension strategy that helps students make meaning of what they are reading. So that means we better understand what we are reading when we're able to connect the material in some way. When students make connections to texts that they are reading, it helps them to make sense of what they read, retain the information, and engage more with the text itself. So a lot of people will tell me, like, reading's really boring. And that's because you're not engaged with the text. Just like talking to people can be really boring if you're not engaged or making connections to what they have to say. So I'm sure you all have seen this chart before about the different types of connections. We just want to reinforce that learning this week. So the first type of connection you can make is a text to self connection. That's a connection between what you're reading and your life experiences. So a good sentence starter is, this reminds me of when, and then you can talk about a time in your life that it reminds you of. Another type of connection is text to text. This could be a connection between the book you're reading now and something you read before. Texts, that's so hard to say, could also be considered television shows or movies. Those are examples of texts. So if you can make a connection between the book you're reading and a show you've watched, that's a text-to-text connection. The last type of connection is a text-to-world connection. So that's a connection between whatever you're reading and an event happening in the world. So can you connect what you're reading to something happening either in the past or historically or a current event? So those are the three different types of connections that we're going to focus on. So you'll see on my next slide, this is set up just like your reading notebook. I've got week 1, reading 1. I filled out all my details about my book here. What I've already done is I've already typed out the quote because you all didn't want to watch me type out a quote for a minute. So what you'll do is you will type out the quote from your book. Here's my quote. I double check the paper in my hand that says homeroom, room number 11. I pull the classroom door open. Being the new girl is like having a target on your forehead. People either mess with you or make bets on who will hook up with you first. Page 13. It's really important for us that you all include the page number from your text. So what you'll do next is you're going to go ahead and you can change the font color, or you can just type in bold and tell me what type of connection are you going to make. I'm going to make a text to self connection. So what I will do now is I'm going to type out my text to self connection. How do I personally connect to this quote? So I'm going to use my sentence starter. This reminds me of when I was in middle school and transferred schools in the middle of the year. Anyone that has ever had to move schools knows this feeling. It also reminds me of any time that I have had to start a new job. The feeling of being new can be very overwhelming. All right, so I have just made a connection to the main character in my book. She's new at her school. I've been new at a school before. I've started new jobs. So I can already relate better to my character. I'm interested in what she is experiencing because I have also experienced that. Also, notice I didn't just write, this reminds me of a time when I transferred middle schools. I went in and I dug deeper. That's what we're looking for in your responses. We want you to expand on your thinking. This week, we are requiring that you make 3 connections each time you read. Okay? So you will need 3 quotes and 3 connections. You'll need one today when you read for 20 minutes for week 1 reading 1, and you'll need to do the same for week 1 reading 2. So each time you read this week, you are going to make 3 connections. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please reach out. Enjoy your reading.